So in this video we'll be downloading and installing Node.js. So let's start with by typing download Node.js in the browser. So we'll click on the first official link. So currently I have a Windows operating system, and so we'll be selecting LTS. So LTS is more kind of like a stable version, so we'll use LTS. So I've downloaded the 64-bit Windows installer. So I'll right click and run as administrator or install. Click on next. I accept. Next. We'll keep it default. We'll keep it as default and we'll click on install. So the Node.js has successfully installed. Let us now open the Node.js command prompt and check the version. So we'll type npm space -v, and we can see that the version is 6.4. In this video we will be downloading and installing Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a open source and a lightweight code editor. So let's just type Visual Studio Code. Okay. Then, since I have a Windows operating system, I will download this with the 64-bit. I'll choose the system installer. So the download is now complete. Let's go ahead and install. So we'll right click and run as administrator. Yes. Next. I accept. This is fine. Next. Don't create a start menu folder. Okay, let's keep it as default. We'll create a desktop icon. Okay. Okay. So the Visual Studio Code is now installed successfully and it is now available for use. Angular 8 globally. So let's start by opening the Node.js command prompt. So to install the latest version of Angular CLI, we have to type this npm install -g, which means install it globally, and then @angular/CLI. So this is a one-time activity. We don't have to do it again and again when we want to create a new project. It's just a one-time activity. We are installing Angular, the latest version of Angular, which is 8. So we are installing it globally. So the installation is now complete. Let's just check the version of Angular by typing ng space version. So we can see that we have the latest version of Angular, which is 8.0, installed globally. So we can now start creating the Angular projects. So in this video we will be creating a project using the Angular 8. So let's create a dedicated folder for our Angular project. So I'll go to F drive and create a new folder, and I'll call it as Angular course. So we'll create the project inside this folder. So let's copy this folder and open up the Node.js command prompt. Once opened, let me navigate into the folder, the course folder where we want to create the Angular project. So in order to create an Angular project, we have to write this command ng new space the name of our project. So let's give the name of our project as Angular 8. So what this command is going to do is it's going to create a folder with Angular 8 in this folder. It's going to create a new folder, Angular 8, and inside that folder there will be all the modules or dependencies that are needed for our Angular 8 project. So let's execute this command by clicking on enter. So it is asking me, would you like to add Angular routing? So I'll give yes. Even if you select no at this point, you can still add routing later on. So, and it's also asking which style sheet format would you like to use. Let's go with the default one, which is CSS. I'll click on enter. If you want to change it, you can change it. So let's go with the default one, which is CSS. I'll click on enter. So it's going to take some time to download the necessary modules or dependencies that are needed for this Angular project, and it's going to place all those inside this newly created folder. It was created using that command. So inside this folder, after creating the project, all the modules or dependencies will be available in that particular folder. So the download is complete and the project is now set up. So what we want to do is we'll open up this project in the Visual Studio Code editor. So to be able to do that, what you have to do is just navigate. You're already in the folder and it's one step outside of the project folder. So let's navigate inside the project folder. So the name that we gave was Angular 8. Okay, so we want to navigate inside the project folder, and then we'll open up the Visual Studio Code editor by writing code space dot. So this will open up the Visual Studio Code editor. So before even exploring the project folder and trying to understand what's there inside the project folder, what we are going to do is let's start the server. What I mean to say is let's render this project in our default browser. So to render this project or to see the output or in the browser, we have to write ng space serve space dash dash open. So what this command is going to do is it's going to open up your default browser. In my case it is Google Chrome, and it's going to display the pages, whatever the default pages which is created inside this project, it is going to display, and then we are going to see how it is being rendered. So it's going to take some time to load it for the first time. And I hope my default browser is Chrome. So I recommend you guys to use Chrome browser because it's the most famous browser, and you have a lot of good developer tools with Google Chrome. So you can see that it says open your browser on HTTP. So you can basically open this on any other browser with this URL, HTTP localhost, it running on port 4200. So with that URL you can open up this project. Once the server is running, you can open up this project in any browser you want. So let's see what we have got here. So we have got something, welcome to Angular 8, and we have an image which obviously is an Angular logo and some of the links here. So let's see how this project or how this page is being rendered as the final output. Okay, so now let's look at the project structure. So if you can observe, we have something called E2E, node modules, source, and then if you open up this package.json, let's open up package.json. If you see the content, the content that is inside package.json is basically the dependencies that are required for this project. Okay, you can see the Angular animations, common core, Angular CLI which is used is the version 8, the node. So these are all the dependencies that are required for this project to run. So let's go to this file called angular.json. Let's not worry too much about all the files. Let's look at what is important for us and what are the files that we actually need to worry about or to change. Okay, so if you look at angular.json, it says source root. I guess it is the source, the root folder of this project, and index, which is supposed to be the landing page of our, or the main page of our application. So it's inside the source folder, and the file name is index.html. So this is the file which is being displayed on load of this URL or the server. So let's go inside source folder and open up index.html. So if you look at this, let's not worry about the head tag. So since that is not being, we cannot see the head tag, so we are worried about the body tag. So whatever you see, whatever being displayed on the browser is actually coming from the body tag. So inside body tag we have something called AppRoot. So what is this? It's basically a custom tags that we can create in Angular. So these are called as selectors. So AppRoot is a selector. So inside AppRoot we are going to define some HTML and we are going to encapsulate as a selector. So you can use it as a selector, as a custom tag, and whatever you write inside this AppRoot HTML will be rendered here. Okay, so where does this AppRoot come from? So let's have a look at that. So if you expand this app folder or app folder, you can see, let's go to this file called app.module.ts. Sorry, not this. App.component.ts. App module is basically where you can import all the, if you want to add Bootstrap or Angular material, you have to import this here, or you create a new component or services, you have to add this here. So we'll worry about this later. For now, what is important is we have to let's go to app.component.ts. So here we can find the app root selector. So the same name is being used in index.html, so which means that whatever is encapsulated inside the selector is being rendered. So this is the selector, and what is the HTML for this selector is written here. So it is app.component.html. So we can see this file app.component.html. So whatever the HTML content which is written inside this HTML file is being encapsulated as a selector app root, and the same selector is being used in index.html. And also you can have, if you want to have a separate styling for this app.component.html, you can have this in app.component.css, which is a separate file which you can see here, app.component.css. So now let's open up app.component.html and see what are the content. If you can remember, we have welcome to title. If you can remember, it is the same thing which is being displayed here, welcome to Angular 8. Now where does this Angular 8 is coming from, right? So it's basically a variable. It is not a text, it's a variable. And where is this variable declared? It is declared inside this app.component.ts, which is a TypeScript file. So here we are declaring the variable title equal to Angular 8, and the same title is being used in this app.component.html inside the two curly braces. So if you write two curly braces, which means that it has to render a variable, not as a text. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a small change here. So instead of Angular 8 as the title, let's type hello world. So if you can see this dot here, I'll just zoom in, which means that file is being edited. So once you click on Ctrl S, the file gets saved. So once the file gets saved, the project will recompile and the browser will reload. So whenever you make any changes to your application or to your any of the file, you don't have to recompile it and reload the page. You just have to save the file, and Angular CLI will take care of the rest. It will basically on click of save, it will recompile the project and reload the browser. So what we are going to do is, so I have changed the title from Angular 8 to Hello World. I'll do Ctrl S to save the file, and if you have a look at the browser, it is reloading after the recompilation, and you can see the new title, which is Hello World. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's remove all the things, and okay, let's remove everything. Let's remove the images also, and let's keep only the title. So I'll click on save, go back to the browser, it recompiles and reloads the browser. So any change that you want to make has to be inside this app.component.html. So we are not going to make the entire changes in this single file. We can create our own components and selectors and use it as a selector inside this app component. So basically we are going to design the application in the form of components. Okay, so in our application we basically have two tabs, right? The employee tab and the department tab. So we can consider both of them as a separate component. So we'll create a component for employee and we'll create a component for department. And inside employee component we have functionalities, right? We should display the employee details, we should be able to edit the employee details, delete the employee details, right? So each of these actions can themselves be inside a separate component. So what I'm trying to say is we have two components, employee component and department component. Inside employee component, let's create three more components and call it as show employees, which is responsible for displaying the employee details, and another component which is edit employee, which is responsible for editing or updating the employee details, and also delete is not needed. So we have two separate components inside of employee component. So let's do this. When we start creating the components, then we'll understand. So let's now, for the sake of understanding, Angular component is the main thing in Angular. So you have to understand what components are and how the selector works. So that's it. So in this video we will be installing Bootstrap for our Angular project. We will mostly be using Bootstrap to for styling purposes in our project, and we will see if we want to use any components from Bootstrap, we may use it. So for now it's mainly for styling purposes. So let's type Bootstrap 4, and we'll click on the official link, which is the getbootstrap.com, and yeah, so quick start. So to include this, copy paste the style link into your head section. So let's copy the style sheet, and let's go to the index.html, and we'll place it in the head section. Okay, so what that is done, let's look at what we have to do next. So we have to copy these JavaScript reference files and place it just before the closing body tag. So let's go back to the application, and in the index.html we have the closing body tag over here. So just before the, sorry, we have it over here, and just before the closing body tag we have to paste the JavaScript reference files. So let's save this. So the project loads without any error. So what we want to do next is test out by including some of the components. Let's click on the components, and let's click on buttons. So let's choose the first one, which is the primary Bootstrap button, which is the blue color one. Copy the code, and let's go back to the app component.html, and we'll place it here. So we'll place it here, click on save. Let's see what happens if the button renders. So we can see the button is being rendered. So this is the Bootstrap style button. So that's how we install Bootstrap for our Angular project. So in this video we will be installing Angular material for our project, Angular 8 project. So basically Angular material is we're going to use some of the components from Angular material. So some of them are really good looking components. So let me just show you what those are. So let's type Angular material in Google, and let's have a look at some of the components that they have. Maybe a checkbox. So you can see some really nice animations. Let's take a look at the date picker. So So that's how it is. Let's take a look at input, which is something that I like. So we have input like this. So there are several components that are available in Material UI, so we're gonna use some of those components in our project. So let's click on the guides and getting started to start installing material design for our project. So we have to execute this command: npm install Angular Material CDK and Angular Animations. Let's copy this command, and so you have to be inside the project folder. So let's stop this server for now. We'll restart it later. To stop, you have to write Control C and yes, Y. Okay. So now let's paste the command npm install save Angular Material CDK and Angular Animations. Click on enter and wait for some time to let the Angular Material design to get installed on our project. So meanwhile we'll look at the other steps. So this is an alternative. So let's look at step 2, what that says. So once the animation package is installed, import browser animations module in your application. So we have to copy this: import browser animations module, this line, and also import in the import section. Let's see the progress. It's almost complete. So let's go to app module.ts and we have to paste the code here. Okay, let's paste here the import, as well as we have to import it inside this imports section. So we have to copy this browser animations module, put a comma, and paste the browser animations module in the imports section. The installation is done. Let's look at another step. Step 3, to import the component modules. We'll do it later. Include a theme. So let's go with the default theme. Just copy that and paste it in the styles.cs here. Okay, that will import the CSS. And then there's something called gesture support. Some of the components need gesture support. Let's install that one as well. npm install save hammer.js. What next? We have to import hammer.js in main.ts file. So let's go to main.ts file and paste the import statement. That's done. Last one is the optional material icons. Some of the material icons are good material icons. I guess we can open it here. Let's see if we can. No. So we'll say material icons. So this is how the icons are. You can basically use it in your instead of regular buttons. So you can use these icons the way you want to. So let's link the reference to that icons in the index.html. Let's go to index.html and paste it after the bootstrap style sheet import. Okay. So I think that is it. Now let's just start the server and try to import some of the material design components inside our app component page. So let's say ng-serve -- open to start the server and open up the browser. So So let's click on components and maybe try with this input component. Okay, so before including the code to display the components, you have to import them. Okay, so if you go at the API section, API tab, you'll get the import statement. Just copy the import statement before using any of the components. You have the components, you have to import something, so you copy that import statement and go to app module.ts, just paste it here and copy the same thing and paste it in the imports module, in the import section. Now you can use the components. So let's just copy these input components and paste it inside the app component.html. So we'll paste it after the Angular button. Click on save. It should ideally reload. Okay, let's try to reload. So you can see the component, Angular material component. Okay, so that's about installing Angular material to our project.